Alright, Split stars James McAvoy. Uh, there are multiple twists in this movie. If you haven't seen Unbreakable, well, spoiler alert now, it is heavily tied to Unbreakable. You won't get that sense until the very end of the movie at the final twist. Split explores three girls that have been abducted by a man that turns out to have dissociative identity disorder, and he has 23 personalities. Some of these personalities are funny, some of them are rather disturbing. They all have very, very different, strikingly different personalities. Like the performance here by James McAvoy is it's amazing. He goes from a 9-year old boy to like a woman to a man with a sense of perversion and OCD to just all kinds of things. Uh, and the movie is a psychological thriller that borders on horror. It is full of intense and surprising moments from the get go. It's very disturbing. And the performances, the music, it it's a pretty edgy film in terms of it putting you on the edge of your seat. So the character who goes by so many different names, Kevin, Barry, uh, Edward, Patricia, and so on. This character, played by James McAvoy, first brings these girls here and he has them kidnapped. They're not sure what they're going to do with them. The one girl, Casey, is pretty much our main protagonist. Throughout the film, she exhibits, you know, a different type of personality than the other girls. They're afraid. They want to fight. She wants to wait to figure things out to see how this is going to turn out. And as she says, we don't know what we're dealing with early on, and she's right because the next time they encounter this guy, he's dressed like a woman, talking to himself, having a conversation with himself, and it has that sort of psycho element to it. If you've ever seen the movie Psycho, legendary movie, but it also has another character in it, the psychiatrist. I cannot remember her name, but she plays a very, very big role. She has multiple sessions with James McAvoy's character, the Horde, which is all of his characters, and she quickly figures out that she's being lied to by one of them by the different behaviors they exhibit. Uh, and she also has several talks with colleagues about how this is very different than regular cases of dissociative identity disorder, that these different personalities, they have very real things, such as one has diabetes, one has OCD, you know, they have these very real things. One has like higher cholesterol because they believe it, they have it. It's very real for them. It's almost supernatural, as one of our colleagues says to her, that what you're talking about sounds almost supernatural. And throughout the film, we get several things said to that degree. Meanwhile, these girls are in fear for their life because they're talking about how they're being saved, preserved for the horde, uh, for something called the beast that's going to come and eat them. And multiple times they try to escape in all kinds of different interesting situations. The character named Edward, Edward, or Edwig, I don't remember how you pronounce his name, but he has some scenes that are funny, but also at the same time disturbing. It's very. This movie is very, very thrilling, very, very dark. Like I said, it borders on horror, and the twist in the movie. Spoiler again. The twist in the movie, at first, it really, really disappointed me. because the beast turned out to be this very real thing that had impervious skin. A knife broke on him. He was able to crawl on walls and do all kinds of disturbing different things. Take bullets. Very strong, very powerful, very fast, very animalistic in nature. And that twist right there, it disappointed me after exploring this very, very interesting psychological, disturbed man that was just grounded in reality. All these different personalities, they really, really expressed themselves in different ways. They dressed different, they talked different, they behaved different, they had little quirks that were just suited just for them. And like I said, diabetes and all this and that. And throughout exploration of the facility that they're kept in, like they stumble across diaries and other things. Like these diaries show all these different personalities on the computer, and this woman's watching them, figuring out who's who, and to the psychiatrist, like I said, it became evident that one of them was pretending to be another one of them, and she figured it out that because it was so trying to convince her so hard that no, this isn't who you think it is. This is me. Uh, she had to play it off that she kept getting messages from one of them to meet for an urgent session, and this was bothering her, and she finally figured out why. But it does not end well for most characters in this film. Like I said, it does border on horror, and it that the twist in the film that at first it largely disappointed me, and I probably would have gave the movie an entirely different review if it had not been for the second twist when the girl is finally saved and she's ready to go home, like she's sitting in the cop car, and then we show the beast with the horde talking to each other, talking to all these other personalities, and then we hear the music from Unbreakable. I remember that music very well. Uh, Even before I went back and rewatched the film to review it before this, uh, that we hear that a couple of women talking about they're calling the news is calling him the Horde, and they don't know where he is. But a woman talks about that sounds like a case similar years ago when they labeled a man. What did they call him? And then we see David Dunn, Bruce Willis, his character from Unbreakable, say they called him Mr. Glass. And then it became clear this was finally the tie-in to Unbreakable. This was a tie-in to Unbreakable, and if it had not been for that twist, this movie would have a very lower rating for me. But seeing this twist really caught me off guard. So if it had just had the first twist without this backdoor twist, it revealed that it was like a sequel. Uh, I would have been very disappointed. I would not have liked the movie as much as I do. Uh, for years, M. Night Shyamalan and Bruce Willis discussed doing a sequel, and I think Samuel Jackson was in along those talks too, but it never came. And finally, now we're here in the year Unbreakable gets a sequel. And I will be reviewing that, the movie titled Glass. I will be reviewing that. I wanted to do Unbreakable when this before Glass came out, so everybody can have their memories refreshed. But I thought this movie is pretty strong. Like I said, though, if it had not had that second twist, and if you have never watched Unbreakable, this movie may disappoint you. You may end up confused too by such an ending. But I'm gonna give this movie an 8 out of 10, and yeah, it's not necessarily a comic book film, but considering it's tied to Unbreakable and the future film Glass, where he's finally gonna take on that second type villain archetype that Samuel Jackson kept mentioning in Unbreakable, when he kept saying there's usually two types of villains. There's, you know, like the brains and then the muscle that usually like manipulates the muscle. So that's pretty much probably what's going to happen in Glass. I look forward to it. This movie is a strong 8 out of 10 for me. Uh, like, subscribe, check out my other videos. If you want to support my channel, check out my PayPal link, check out my GoFundMe link, and stay awesome. Rock on.